Welcome to the Money Hour with Tina Mitchell. Tina Mitchell, MLO 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC. The views expressed by the speakers on the following program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, nor are they necessarily endorsed by Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC. Now, in the studio, local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome to the Money Hour at 11:50 a.m. KKNW, the Saturday, September 9th show. I am your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. My goal is to keep you up to date on the latest news and trends in our local economy. Keep me tuned in and I will keep you informed. If you're hearing my show at a different day or time, you're listening to a rebroadcast, but I'm here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that I have in the show today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And my lineup for today's show, Kim Fraser with John L. Scott, and we're going to be talking about marketing, pricing, and listing strategies for any of you sellers out there, as well as buyers that are thinking of selling. It's nice to know behind the scenes how the sellers are strategizing with their price. Also in studio, I have Jeff Butler with Haury's Lake City Collision. Automobile property damage claims. Are you the victim of unsafe repairs? And last guest in studio, Gary Castle with Mountaintop Advisors, investing in low interest rate world. Great information and great guest in studio today. For more information on any topic discussed or future topics you'd like me to bring into the show, please call at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150, or you can always go online at themoneyhour.com. And for a little bit of money chat.
Money.
I wanted to chat a little bit about low appraisals and possible solution for that. If you're in the market looking for real estate properties right now, there is a potential or a small chance that you might have an appraisal value issue. So understanding maybe a solution that might be available for you instead of that transaction falling apart altogether. In today's market, with the rapid appreciation, it's sometimes challenging for the appraiser to support the purchase price or value of your home. Today, I'd like to provide a possible solution. Solution for to decrease your down payment and do maybe a buyout of mortgage insurance. So if you're at contract at a $500,000 purchase price and you're doing a 20% down payment, 80% loan to value, most clients are looking at accomplishing that if possible to avoid paying private mortgage insurance. That would put your loan amount at $400,000, which would be a down payment of $100,000. So let's say after the appraisal, the value comes in at $480,000. So it's shy $20,000 from what the actual price that you agreed to pay the seller for. You can lend and borrow up to 85% instead of the original 80% that you wanted, which would put your loan amount at $408,000 versus the original idea that you had at $400,000. Now, with a down payment, $272,000 versus the $100,000 you were planning to come in with, plus the shortage of the appraisal of $20,000, that brings it up to $92,000. Now, you would have a buyout of mortgage insurance. A lot of consumers don't know that this option's available. They think they have to pay private mortgage insurance by a monthly PMI. You don't have to actually do that. You can do a buyout. In this example, I'm estimating the buyout at $3,100. So now that brings your cash to closing to $95,100. It's actually $4,900 less than you originally were planning at the 20% down of $100,000. Now, the mortgage payment difference at contract, if the property appraised at $500,000 with your original loan amount of $400,000, just using an interest rate of 4% hypothetical, there's a lot of factors, obviously, that are going to affect the interest rate. Disclosure needed. Principal and interest would be $1,909. After the appraisal, with the actual value of $480 and your loan amount, which we said was $408, principal and interest would be $1,947. So the difference is $38 a month. Finance the buyout, because you could decide to do that. It just increases your payment by $15 a month. So to wrap this up, $4,900 less at cash, $38 a month higher on the mortgage payment. It's a really great solution. And that's really what things are all about, is finding there's almost always a solution to every problem and challenge out there. It's just understanding that there's options and working with a professional that can help you navigate through the process. And that's really what my show is all about. It's bringing in experts in every area regarding financing. I'm your expert when it comes to mortgages, but that's what I do. So I want to bring you a group of people in every area so that you can make sure that you're looking at all the options and you always have solutions. Now, going back to the low appraisal, the options that are available if you're not getting creative with the financing is the seller can reduce the price by $20,000 because that's what the appraisal came in low. That is not going to happen in this market. The second option is you, as the buyer, keeps the agreed price and comes in with the additional $16,000 at closing. You can do that, but a lot of people don't have the additional cash or don't want to have to liquidate the additional cash. Buyer U puts a lower down payment to 15%, which we just talked about, which seems like a really great option. The only other option that you have is you walk away from the transaction. But so there's a solution for you. Now, tips for an agent to help with avoiding low appraisals. And I brought this into Money Chat, just talked about this. I actually had an expert in, industry leader in the appraisal arena, to talk about this and kind of help the appraiser through the process, is to be prepared to share all the data that you have with the appraiser. So your real estate professional is putting a lot of data together to show you as a buyer what the property is valued at, and to prepare moving forward. The listing agent that represents the seller is gathering all that data as well to help the seller determine where to list their price at what price. So that data is already there. Provide it to the appraiser. Be prepared with CO detectors and things that you have to do so that you're not making the job easier for the appraiser. The appraiser's not having to go back out to the property. Accurate information on the MLS for the listing is really important for the appraiser as well. Call the appraiser prior to the appointment to introduce yourself and offer your services, just to really be able to connect with that appraiser, find out what the appraiser, he or she, needs to help with the value, make sure he's got all the data again that he needs. Return the appraiser's call promptly. That's common sense to be courteous there, and be kind and respectful with the challenges that the appraiser may have in doing their job with the increases that we're seeing in our value. So remember, the appraiser is coming up with an appraiser's opinion. Opinion can vary. So making that story and pulling things together can make it easy for the appraiser. And that's what I have for Money Chat. Coming up next on the Money Hour, marketing, pricing, and listing strategies. I have a real estate expert and a great friend of mine, Kim Fraser, with John L. Scott, right here on 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.
Are you tired of wasting your hard-earned dollars on rent to pay off someone else's home and at the same time losing out on the tax benefits in the process? Kim Fraser with John L. Scott has assisted over 800 individuals and families just like yours in obtaining the dream of home ownership. Kim has been practicing real estate since 2002 and is recognized in the top 1% of all real estate brokers. Kim is well equipped to assist you whether you are a first-time buyer or a move-up buyer looking to achieve your real estate goals.
Hi, I'm Kim Fraser, and I would love to assist you with your real estate needs. Please feel free to call me at 425-209-5638, or you can find me online at KimberlyFraser.com.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, September night show. I am committed to providing you the knowledge needed to be successful in every area regarding your finances. Knowledge is power, and that's what you'll receive from listening to the show today. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but you can always call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150, or online at themoneyhour.com with any questions that you have, or if you'd like to connect with the guests that I have in studio. And right now, I'm going to have a conversation with Kim Fraser with John L. Scott, marketing, pricing, and listing strategies. Kim, thank you so much for coming back in studio.
Thank you for having me.
And a little bit about Kim. Kim Fraser is local realtor who works at John L. Scott in Downtown Bellevue. Kim has just celebrated her 15th year with John L. Scott and is in the top 1% of all brokers within John L. Scott. She has sold over 900 homes in her career and loves helping people with real estate needs. She has also earned credentials as Accredited Staging Professional, as well as Certified Luxury Home Marketing Specialist, and definitely deserving to be here today and represent the arena of buyers and sellers in the real estate arena. And Kim, I'm really excited about the topic, marketing, pricing, and listing strategies, because a lot of times sellers feel because the market is so crazy that they can get whatever they want for their home, and it really doesn't matter to strategize. The reality is you can lose just as much by not strategizing in this market as you can in a buyer's market. So, Kim, why is it important to hire a realtor with a proven track record and marketing plan that is familiar with the community?
Well, one of the reasons that you want to hire a local expert is different regions vary as far as pricing, strategy. Obviously, the east side and Seattle markets are a little bit more competitive than farther north and farther south. So how you approach your pricing, your comp stays on market, whether you're doing a multiple offer review period, the east side in Seattle, definitely. Sometimes in the south end, you'll see it a lot less. I would say almost every listing in the east side in Seattle has a 3 to 5 day review period once it gets listed, and they review offers. They list it on a Thursday. They review all the offers either Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday typically. In the south end or farther north, you sometimes can shoot yourself in the foot. Maybe 30 to 50% have an offer review period just because the market times are a little bit longer typically in those markets, or if they overprice the listing.
Yeah.
They can be stale, dated, and then people are like, oh, it didn't get multiple offers.
Yes.
If it didn't get multiple offers, then they automatically, you assume after that 3 or 5 day window, then it's worth less because it didn't get the offers they were anticipating. So sometimes you can shoot yourself in the foot a little bit.
Makes
a little
sense.
overzealous.
And the review period, why do they do that?
To collect offers and try to drive the price up.
Makes sense.
And sometimes I struggle with this with some of my sellers because I have clients who think their houses are worth 10 to 20% more. I'll give them a recommended list price with the hopes of them eventually, coming down or coming to their senses and realizing that the market won't support their price.
Yes.
But this season, I found that some of my listings are pretty stubborn, where you're like, well, I haven't gotten any showings. I'm like, well, because your house is overpriced,
Yes.
like 10 or 20%. And they sometimes get offended, and then or they don't want to compete against themselves and shoot themselves in the foot, they tell me. But if you don't have anybody coming through your door, and we've got all these great marketing pieces in place, there's nothing more I can do as an agent. My hands are tied.
Yes. So important to listen to what your agent expert is saying. So Kim, why should you have your realtor provide their marketing plan and strategy prior to listing your home?
Biggest thing is so there's no miscommunication. You want to know kind of a detailed plan of what their action plan is going to be from start to finish. How many days does the agent need to prepare their listing for sale? So a lot of times you've got to kind of work your way backwards. You want to put it on middle of the month. It's maybe take 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, depending on what the agent, has in regards to marketing, aerial photography, Matterports, virtual tours, those types of things that take preparation, getting the photographer scheduled, getting the sign up. We have even a sign requirement the last 6 months in Washington that we used to be able to put a sign request in and the sign was up the next day.
Okay.
Well, now we have to notify that company, call before you dig. So the sign company, we let them know, and then it takes 3 business days. Yeah, because apparently they were hitting some things other than sprinkler systems. So they come out and mark the property, and it's like a $5,000 fine, or 5 or 10. I think it's $5,000 fine if you dig a signpost without having it properly marked. It's pretty steep. So that's one thing that, if you're not proactive and planning out, that's even having from the sign that's going to hold your flyers at the front of the listing.
Yep. Yes.
Starting it all the way forward. So you want to kind of know what the strategy is, what the timeline is, what the expectation is. Probably smart to look at pricing expectations as well, especially if a client is confident their house is going to worth more than what the realtor is suggesting. Smart, because we spend thousands and thousands of dollars marketing these properties, and sometimes they'll just light money on fire. It's nice to have the listing, but sometimes you shoot yourself in the foot. So it's nice if you have a strategic pricing plan. If they don't get that offer and price as an agent, it would be smart to have that agreement up front, so you're not having to have the awkward conversation 30 or 60 days down the road if it hadn't sold.
Of course. So Kim, what about your recommendation for properties that don't have comparable properties or unique properties, homes overbuilt or underbuilt in a community? How do you kind of strategize around your price with those?
Those are the most difficult. Obviously, the more cookie cutter the neighborhood, easy because every third house is the same house. So within a usually 5 or 10% margin, you can pretty much hit a price depending on upgrades and comps and short sale foreclosure, which we don't see a ton of in our market anymore.
Yes.
But so you kind of that was a tough 10. That was 10 years ago, and that was a tough it was a tough few years there.
Yeah.
So it's amazing what you can live through. So a lot of times I recommend if I can't find anything. I mean, sometimes I scout. You scour everything, the MLS. Sometimes I recommend an appraisal, just going ahead and hiring the appraiser, and I offer to split the cost with them. especially if we're having kind of a discrepancy on price, I just let them know I'll credit them afterwards because I'm not going to pay for the appraisal up front.
Of course.
And then all of a sudden it doesn't sell and then I'm out, $500 or $1,000. So depending on the price point, I might offer to pay for the full appraisal, at closing or split the cost with them depending on price point and what the commission is going to be in the commission structure. Because that way the appraisers just have a more detailed, nitty gritty look and off market things they can find off market listings and sales a little bit better than we can as agents. I mean, not that I couldn't go through the county records. I don't have time.
Yes.
I'd rather pay $500 and let
have
an
someone else
expert
do
come
that.
do it.
Yes.
Yeah, not my favorite thing to do.
So give a little bit about your magic around coming up with a price for a home, because it really is a strategy and it takes expertise, it takes strategy and just really understanding what to do and what's happening in that actual market to find out how to strategize. So what is your magic sauce?
Well, you kind of have to look at, days on market in a specific community. Like I said, the East Side and Seattle market's going to move a lot faster typically unless you're overpriced. And there are still houses, and obviously East Side, anything under $1 million goes in a second.
Yes.
Depending on different parts of Bellevue, West Bellevue, you can't find anything you want to live in for probably 1.8 or 2 million in a single family home that's not, 50 years old and a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, probably under 1.5 million because cost of dirt now, a building lot's probably 1.2 million in West Bellevue.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Lakemont, I think that moves pretty quickly at like 1.2, 1.3 and under. Somerset, anything under 1.5. You start getting to those price points where you're getting close to 2 million and up. There's fewer buyers in the buyer pool.
Yes.
So I think the higher price points, you have to be more strategic in trying to get as close as possible for pricing.
Yeah.
Because the days on market are typically just going to be longer because you have a smaller buyer pool.
And it's hard too because it's a moving target. I mean, the price is kind of adjusting, or the value of that home is adjusting with what's happening right now, which is a moving target. Yeah, it's crazy.
And what things close for. I mean, there's been some beautiful homes over there, 1.7, 1.8, and you would think that who's in the market at that time?
Yes, yeah.
Now we're going into, fall and winter. Typically less inventory, typically fewer buyers. Most people aren't super excited about moving in the holidays unless they have to, or they're, very specific in their move, or they move into the area. So you have to be, I think, a little bit more strategic in your pricing now than maybe March, April, May, when, influx of people are trying to do it before school starts, things like that.
Yeah. So Kim, what about the risk of overpricing?
I see it every day.
Yeah.
And I work a lot in the Lake Taps market down south, and anything under $1 million, I've sold pretty easily this year. I have 5 listings over $1 million, and 1 have sold. And that's kind of the strategy I'm having with some of my clients. I think the 3 that are out there are probably $150,000 to $200,000 high in price, and not every house sells. So when you get to that luxury marketing arena, whether it's $1.5 million in Lake Taps or it's $3 million in Bellevue, your buyer pool shrinks. And so the more either you wait out the season and it's going to take a season or 2, depending on where your location is. But pricing is very, very crucial, especially when you're upper tier or whatever community that you're working on. Your buyer pool is just going to be smaller in general. Yeah.
And let's talk about photography and really mastering that. And how important is that in the market?
Presentation's huge. Say 5 years ago, we would still go out and take our own pictures. Have a nice Canon, camera and beautiful, very nice quality photography. I was never taking pictures with my iPhone or anything like that. But probably, I would say in the last 3 to 5 years, it's becoming more increasingly important to get the professional photographer out there. They run anywhere from probably $300 to $600 a shoot for each house. But just the crispness, the quality of the photography really lends itself to having the house show in its best light. I saw on Facebook yesterday, the Realtor posted a picture in a community that we both work in. And she was like, oh my gosh, they took a picture, it was on the MLS, but from the driver's seat with their iPhone through the car window, and you could even see like the window frame out the passenger side window, and I got like half the house, and that was the main photo on the MLS, and we were just dying.
Wow.
So I mean, you're still seeing that.
First impression is important.
$500,000-$600,000 listing. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so you really want to make sure spend $300 to $500, money well spent as far as marketing.
So it's a great
listing.
question. If you're a seller, it's a great question to ask your agent during the listing presentation. Are you going to hire a professional photographer so that you know that they're going with the quality and what's needed?
And always ask to see their work too. Just say who are you planning on using. If it's within a couple of photographers, it's
great advice.
Yeah, not a bad question to ask.
Yeah. So Kim, what about new trends in listing presentation?
Well, one of the things that we've implemented in the last couple of years, we bought a several $1,000 drone that we fly over for all of our listings, unless it's really going to be a disservice to the listing. So we've got, it's really kind of cool, get the rooftop, the backyard, what's behind there, those types of things. So we do aerial photography. We also have that new 3D technology Matterport that we do for all of our listings, which is a 3D tour. It's very important when you have international or out of area buyers, depending on what market you have, because they can literally walk through the house like they were there. It's an incredible 3D tour.
It's powerful.
It does the floor plan. It does a dollhouse view. So those are things in addition to just your regular MLS photos and marketing and a virtual tour that we do as well. So those are all services that really take it up a notch and get you the most exposure as possible as a seller.
Yes. And so print material. I mean, what are you doing for that?
Always top notch. You're never going to see like a little regular piece of paper fly on my flyer box. Everything's heavy cardstock, two-sided, full gloss. You want to be able people to pull the flyer out of the flyer box and not have them stick together. UV coating's good, because sometimes with this weather, people don't shut the box and they glue together. So that's very important. The presentation not only is a reflection upon the house, but it's a reflection upon the agent.
Makes total sense.
And that's going to help bring along an agent more business and also represent the house in its best light to the community.
Yeah. So with technology, everybody knows everyone has access to the properties through the MLS, consumer, as well as all the real estate professionals out there. But brokers opens and to show and showcase that property. How important is that?
To be honest with you, with new technology, I would say 20 years ago, very important. Today, not as important. So I don't attend brokers opens. It's not that I'm just too busy. It's not the highest and best use of my time.
Yes.
Unless it's a $5 million house in West Bellevue that I'm not going to be able to get into unless I came to that broker's open where the agent has to be present. It's probably a waste of my time, just because most of the buyers that I have would be, I can see online with good photography, things like that, if it's a buyer for that buyer pool. So I don't think they're usually well attended, even in the East Side markets.
Got it.
Some markets are better than others, but I don't think it's going to make the house sell.
Yeah. So Kim, I've got less than a minute here with you to wrap things up. Disadvantage, advantage of open house.
Open houses, once again, certain markets are, heavily trafficked for open houses. East Side and Seattle, still very, very popular. Open houses, I can have anywhere between 70 and 100 people through in a weekend. A lot of agents will just send their clients. They don't have to go out there. So they're like, go look at all these open houses. And then you'll get offers coming in from them. There are some security risks involved with open houses, just both from a real estate perspective or a theft perspective.
Yes.
So it's very, very important. Any prescription medication, firearms, jewelry, all of those things that cannot be replaced, or you don't want to have anybody have their hands on. Because an agent, we can't be everywhere in the house at once. You have 50 people in the house and you just, they go everywhere. So security is very important. So make sure you put all your valuables away.
Makes total sense. Kim, thank you so much for coming in. It's great how much information we can get through in such a short period of time.
Good thing we're fast talkers.
Exactly. Coming up next on the Money Hour, automobile property damage claims. Are you the victim of unsafe repairs? We'll have Jeff Butler with Haury Lake City Collision right here on 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.
Are you tired of wasting your hard-earned dollars on rent to pay off someone else's home and at the same time losing out on the tax benefits in the process? Kim Fraser with John L. Scott has assisted over 800 individuals and families just like yours in obtaining the dream of home ownership. Kim has been practicing real estate since 2002 and is recognized in the top 1% of all real estate brokers. Kim is well equipped to assist you whether you are a first-time buyer or a move-up buyer looking to achieve your real estate goals.
Hi, I'm Kim Fraser, and I would love to assist you with your real estate needs. Please feel free to call me at 425-209-5638, or you can find me online at KimberlyFraser.com.
Hi, my name is Gary Castle from Mountaintop Advisors, LLC. I'm a licensed, registered, and insured investment advisor and fiduciary. I help small businesses and families in the Puget Sound area with their retirement plans and sorting through the various investment options that can be so confusing. Every type of investment has risks, so it's helpful to have a 30-year professional helping guide you through the confusing and conflicting options that you have these days. My area of specialty is in adding alternative investments to your accounts to reduce risks and possibly increase your gains. These are complementary investments that do not go up and down with the stock and bond markets that most investors already own. By adding these additional types of investments, such as real estate investment trusts, business development companies, commodities, and others, we increase increase your safety by increasing your diversification. Why put all of your eggs in 2 baskets when you can split them into 4 or more? Visit me, Gary Castle, at mtadvisors.net. It's Mountaintop Advisors, or call me at 253-332-0734. Securities are offered through Titan Securities, member SIPC, and FINRA.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here at 1150 AM, KKNW, the Saturday, September 9th show. I provide you news on everything money, fresh information on market trends and conditions in our local economy. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. You can call the show at 1-855-400-1150 or go online to themoneyhour.com to get connected with my guest or talk with your host if you'd like to. And in studio right now, Jeff Butler with Haury's Lake City Collision Automobile Property Damage Claims. And the question I want to ask you today, are you a victim of unsafe repairs? Or do you want to make sure you're not a victim of unsafe repairs? That's what I'm going to be having a conversation with my guest. Jeff, thank you so much. First time in studio with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, a little bit about Jeff. Haury Lake City Collision and Collision Consulting of Washington. Jeff Butler grew up working with his family restaurant from the age of 12 till after high school. After graduating high school, he pursued an aviation mechanics license and business degree. Working as an auto restoration specialist since 1991, he restored vintage vehicles such as Alfa Romeo, Porsche, and BMW until moving his business to Lake City. Today, Jeff operates Haury Lake City Collision, an OEM certified collision repair center, as well as his appraisal and accident inspection company, Collision Consulting of Washington. Jeff inspects wrecked and repaired vehicle to verify correct repairs, write appraisals for total loss claims, diminished value claims, and dispute repair claims. Did I give a good description of the comparison between the two?
You betcha.
Okay, perfect. So starting out, are you the victim of unsafe repairs, and how would you even know?
Well, that's a great question, and most people don't. Most of the people that come to see us at Collision Consulting of Washington, they're looking for diminished value, which is recovering the lost market value of their vehicle after a loss, or their lawyer has said, hey, I want your car inspected to know that all of the damage has been repaired or not, because that impacts how somebody views what an injury is. Yeah. So most people aren't upset people that are like, hey, something's wrong with my car. It's people that think everything's is fine. And what we find out is they're not. And the statistics we have at our company, at one point about a year and a half ago, we said, hey, let's culminate the data. And what are the numbers? Because, boy, there's a lot of bad stuff. And our numbers, well, I'll just read them and then I'll draw a comparison. But 45% of the vehicles we inspected that had been in a real collision, not a little scratch on the bumper, 45%, we found so much remaining damage, structural and frame damage, the cars were declared a total loss. These are cars driving down the road and people thought they were fine.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy.
55% of those vehicles had remaining frame and structural damage. 90% had workmanship issues. These statistics in Washington mirror a study by the California Bureau of Automotive Repair, 4 or 5 years ago, where they studied 800 vehicles and found very, very similar statistics. So the likelihood is people think, I had a wreck, everything's fine now. There's a good chance that it's not. And it impacts safety and it impacts value.
So another expert and another reason to consult and have an expert on your side so that you've got somebody that protects and understands the process.
Totally. I mean, similar like the real estate appraiser conversation, right? You need an expert. Exactly.
So, Jeff, why should you never purchase a used vehicle without a pre-inspection from an expert in collision repair?
Yeah. So reflecting on the comments I just made about our accident inspection services, you're buying a vehicle, you want to know that it's a safe vehicle, and you want to know that it's worth what you think or you're going to pay for it.
Yes.
Nobody wants a lemon of a vehicle, right? You want to know you're buying a good vehicle. I've inspected dozens of vehicles that my customers are like, hey, I'm thinking about buying this. There was so much damage, these cars were totaled, right? And it just, this is a car for sale on the internet or wherever it is.
Yes.
Most mechanics have no idea. They have no training experience around body and collision. They can tell you if, the brakes and the suspension are good. They don't know anything about the body. So if you're buying a used car, you really need to get a qualified professional that has body collision experience to do a pre-purchase inspection.
So, Jeff, how do you know if your insurance company is settling your claim fairly?
So we work in and around automobile property damage. Collision Consulting of Washington, that's where I write appraisals. I testify as an expert. Until you have a loss, you don't know what you bought.
Yes.
Right. And all insurance companies, well, they're different. But what you'll know is if you're settling a total loss, for instance, your car's total loss, and you need to do some research so you know what a real value is, a fair value.
Yeah.
And ask the insurance company how they generated their value, so you have a real comparison. And just so you know, consumers don't understand they have the right to dispute that.
Yes.
If you disagree, there's ways you can dispute your settlement. Doesn't mean you have to wait until the dispute's done to get payment.
Yes.
You can get what's called the undisputed portion of the loss, and then you can demand appraisal. Most insurance policies have what's called an appraisal clause. You can invoke your right of appraisal, hire an expert, and dispute the insurance company's value.
Yes.
And I've helped clients get tens of thousands in some circumstances.
Well, and I'll speak, and I got connected with you because of our own personal thing. My husband's truck literally blew up, so of course it was totaled, and we got connected, and I mean $8,000 difference from what the value was from the insurance company after they appraised to find out really what the value should be, and it was a really easy process to go through. So yes, I've gone through it personally myself. So Jeff, how do you protect yourself after a car accident?
Well, so here's a place that most consumers screw up. They just don't know what to do here. So, I mean, this is super important. Take notes. At the scene of an accident, get out of your car. Don't move it if you can. It's not where you don't jeopardize safety, but take pictures of the accident scene. 360-degree view. Convince people that know nothing about this accident that you're in the right? And they can see from the photos how the parts scattered across the road, where the vehicles are located. There's no question about liability. If you don't do that, it leaves liability determination up to someone else, and they have an incentive to find it against you, right? Get lots of pictures of the accident scene, multiple angles, close up and far away. Get pictures of the vehicle damage, right? So you can see your vehicle, someone else's, up close and far away, so you can establish what happened. Remember, insurance adjusters are trained to minimize claims costs. This includes liability decisions. They're incentivized to find in favor of what's best for them.
Of course.
Insurance claims and repairs. So number one best advice ever, get it in writing. Communicate in writing only with the insurance company. It's the best advice I can tell anyone. And people break this rule all the time because they think, we're reasonable people. We'll just pick up the phone and talk to them. Yeah. You've got to get things in writing. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen. Before you call
We've heard that.
Yes.
That goes in our arena too, with contracts.
Absolutely. Before you call an insurance company and say, hey, this happened, a loss happened, stop and write out your statement. Think about it so you can accurately lay things out and know that if somebody else is involved, another insurance company, they're going to look to shoot holes in your statement. They're going to look to construe it any way they can in their best light, not yours. So think about, I'm not saying don't misrepresent the facts.
Of course.
But think about how you're going to say what you're going to say. Put it in writing first, right? You get free legal consultation. Most lawyers, accident lawyers, will provide some free consultation. Don't hesitate to get that worked out before you file a claim. Getting your car fixed, demand factory parts. You have a Toyota, Honda, BMW, demand factory parts on your car. They're tested and engineered for your vehicle. Don't accept anything else. There's lots to be said around factory parts, but you can make that demand. Get a written response from your insurance company or the repair shop. I want my car fixed to pre-loss condition with factory parts. Confirm that's happening. Get it in writing.
Great advice. So, Jeff, how can you get your vehicle repaired to OEM specifications after an accident?
Well, so kind of following up on what I just said, one of the things we did, because this comes up constantly when I inspect vehicles and I read a repair order and I say, gosh, Tina, you have a 1-year-old Toyota. Did you okay all these aftermarket non-factory parts on your Toyota or your Honda, whatever it is? And people say,
Jaguar.
Yeah, Jag. Not less for that car, but people generally say no. No, I told them I wanted factory parts. Insurance companies write appraisals generally that start low. And so we created a document. So it's a customer request for proper pre-loss condition repairs. And you can find it on our website, Collision Consulting of Washington, ccofwa.com. And it's like if you had me standing there with you at the repair shop with the insurance company. You get the benefit of my experience, which is a statement to the repair shop. Hey, please tell me that you are equipped, qualified, and will make the correct repairs following OEM procedures using factory parts, and you got a warranty in writing from me.
Wow.
So it's a document people can just, you get to choose where your car's repaired. Nobody can tell you otherwise, no insurance company or elsewise. So choose wisely, do your research, use this document so you get the benefit of knowing what you don't know. My experience to get your car properly repaired, or if it's not, it's totaled and you can get another car.
Yeah. So, Jeff, what if somebody says, insurance companies, they're all the same, and so I'm just shopping around for the best price? What advice would you give them?
Well, that's a great question. Washington State does consumers no justice with the laws around insurance for auto. There's such a wide variety, a wide range of what policies say, and there's not really much consumer protection for auto. Homeowners is different. There's a standard for homeowners policies. They can't just write anything in that. But auto is the wild, wild west. So it's a get what you pay for world. Washington State has basically no standards for auto policies for language that protect consumers. What I can say is do your research. We're as service providers, we see a lot of people. We see a lot of claims. We see the companies that are ethical or decent to deal with, and companies that they are cost driven to drive prices as low as possible.
So you'd be good to talk to when making a decision who to go with for your insurance carrier.
Absolutely.
I'll talk to you offline after the show.
Okay. I definitely have some strong recommendations on who to buy.
Yeah. So Jeff, your car's been in an accident, it's been wrecked, but it's fixed and it's been fixed well in the way it should be. What does that do to your value of the car, though?
So that's a great question. So, question, do you want to buy a wrecked and repaired Jag?
No.
Of course not. And if you were going to, were you going to pay full price?
No.
Yeah, exactly. So diminished value, your vehicle's lost market value after a loss is something that you can recover. Diminished value is the legal issue. Collecting diminished value requires a statement of damages, an expert opinion, an appraisal. So you can seek out an appraiser and get an expert opinion of
saying what that diminished value is going to be based on that accident.
Yeah. So Collision Consulting of Washington is where I provide those kinds of appraisals. Okay. We investigate circumstances like diminished value, total losses, or even repair cost disputes, and provide an opinion so our customer can then go pursue their lost value.
Got it. So, Jeff, how do you recover your vehicle's lost value?
Well, so you're going to make a demand, either the at-fault party's insurance company or the at-fault party, right? And that's who's really liable, the at-fault party. There are limited circumstances where you can make that claim under your own policy, and that's the uninsured or underinsured motorist portion of the policy, right? Which is where your company insures the other party on your behalf. Right? Comp and collision doesn't provide that. It's really a third-party claim where that is made, and you're going to make a demand, and it's either they're going to pay that claim, they're going to argue with you, and you'll have to pursue it either small claims court, or if it's a bigger claim, it's part of a loss where there's injuries, and you need a lawyer for that. If it's under $5,000, that's small claims court.
Yes. So, Jeff, as I wrap my time up, I've got less than 2 minutes with you. I love stories. So do my listeners. So a story of a learning lesson or a success story, anything. Just share a story as I wrap up my time with you.
Well, sure. So purchasing a vehicle, it's a major expense, right? It's the second most valuable asset people generally buy. They don't do a good job of investigating those. So we've looked at lots of cars that were pre-owned certified, or had some statement or good Carfax. And I'm not saying that those things are bad in any way, but they're not thorough. They're not, I've looked at cars that had clean Carfaxes that weren't, or the opposite. Okay. So having a vehicle inspected is super important. So I've actually inspected cars that were purchased, 2 days, 6 days ago kind of thing. And people thought these certified cars with good histories were good, and they were so badly repaired. Like it wasn't like I'm nitpicking. I'm talking about massive safety issues that people had no idea what they were getting into, and they were driving death traps. Wow. So having a vehicle purchased, when you purchase a vehicle, get it inspected. If you've had major repairs done, people like to think, gosh, I went to this place, it seemed fine. I have so much data to say the opposite. Get your vehicle inspected. Safety is so important. And vehicles today, they're not simple. They're very complex. Special metals, rivet bonding, gluing cars together. they have to be repaired in a specific manner. If it's not, it can completely destroy the vehicle's collision energy management system. It won't work the same.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a get what you pay for world. Going to the lowest cost provider is not necessarily the best thing for you.
Exactly. So great advice, and one more importance of having that expertise behind you. Jeff, thank you for coming back or coming in studio. I'm excited to have you back when we have the panel with all of you guys. Just really the whole show about that. So thanks, Jeff.
We'll have a lawyer there too. It'll be good.
I'm excited. And coming up next in the Money Hour, investing in low interest rate world, Gary Castle with Mountaintop Advisors right here in 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.
Hi, my name is Gary Castle from Mountaintop Advisors, LLC. I'm a licensed, registered, and insured investment advisor and fiduciary. I help small businesses and families in the Puget Sound area with their retirement plans and sorting through the various investment options that can be so confusing. Every type of investment has risks, so it's helpful to have a 30-year professional helping guide you through the confusing and conflicting options that you have these days. My area of specialty is in adding alternative investments to your accounts to reduce risks and possibly increase your gains. These are complementary investments that do not go up and down with the stock and bond markets that most investors already own. By adding these additional types of investments, such as real estate investment trusts, business development companies, commodities, and others, we increase your safety by increasing your diversification. Why put all of your eggs in 2 baskets when you can split them into 4 or more? Visit me, Gary Castle, at mtadvisors.net, it's Mountaintop Advisors, or call me at 253-332-0734. Securities are offered through Titan Securities, member SIPC, and FINRA.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert Tina Mitchell right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, September 9th show, bringing in expert advice and inside knowledge on today's events in our local economy and how it can affect your money. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. You can call the show at 1-855-400-1150 or go online at themoneyhour.com. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150. If you have any questions for the guests that I have in studio today. Right now, I'm having a conversation with Gary Castle with Mountaintop Advisors, investing in low interest rate world. Gary, thanks for coming back in studio.
You bet, Tina. Thank you very much.
And Gary, again, is with Mountaintop Advisors, LLC, first licensed in 1984. Gary's been a high-volume bank program and at a very well-known credit union. He has a Series 6, 63, and Series 7 licenses in addition to being fully licensed for life insurance and annuities, both fixed and variable. And today the topic, Gary, is investing in a low-interest rate environment or world. And so with interest rates so low, how can an investor find ways to get a decent income for their investments? You know, CDs right now aren't doing so swell.
No, they're really down at historic lows, like you have found with mortgages. Mm-hmm. Most of your listeners will know that they can borrow money very, very inexpensively right now, but it makes it very, very difficult to find any sort of an investment that gives them a decent, exciting yield.
Yes.
So most investors have got 2 types of investments in their IRA or 401k or any type of an investment portfolio. They've got typically stocks or stock-based mutual funds, and they've got bonds or bond-based mutual funds, and maybe cash. But they're really only diversified with those 2 things. And bonds right now just don't yield very much in the way of income,
Yes.
and neither do CDs. So what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
That's the predicament that a lot of my customers are in, especially my more elderly clients, seniors that are retired and trying to live off their investments. They look at stocks. The volatility scares them. Prices jump all over the place. The stock market doesn't like uncertainty, and we've got a really contentious election going on right now.
Yep.
We just had the British exit from the EU. We've got Puerto Rico, and their bonds are in crisis, and maybe terrorism and all sorts of things. So people are nervous, and that's not good for the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
So people investing in the stock market have seen wild fluctuations, but they really haven't gotten a heck of a lot of overall growth in the last couple of years. Bonds could be one of the scariest investments currently from a standpoint of as soon as interest rates do move up, then the value will drop tremendously. We haven't really had that happen for 30 years. So people are kind of thinking, what are you talking about, Gary? I thought bonds are really safe. They are, they can be, but you can also lose a lot of money. And recently in 2014, during the summer, the Fed decided that they would try raising interest rates, and they raised them only 0.25%. If you owned what's considered to be the safest investments of all, long-term U.S. government bonds, in a 2-month period of time, you would have lost over 14% in value.
Wow.
If you're only getting paid a couple of percentage points, that's, 6 or 7 years worth of income. And that's, my clients don't like that.
Yes.
So that's the risk. But there are other things that have come up because of banking regulations and some other circumstances that I think are a good solution.
So, Gary, what about investing in commercial real estate for income and value of appreciation? How can you do that if your account, the net worth that you have, isn't millions of dollars?
The easiest way to do that, and that's sort of the area that the company that I work with, Titan Securities, that's sort of their area of expertise, alternative investments, non-stock, non-bond types of investments. And the best way to invest in commercial real estate so that you own the building and there are tenants that are paying rent to you, the easiest way for somebody to do that without having huge amounts of money is to invest in a real estate investment trust. And what happens in that scenario is you and a whole bunch of other investors pool your money together, and then they go out and can buy the property with large amounts of money, oftentimes just walk in with cash, and they can negotiate a pretty good deal.
So with the real estate investment trust or REITs, you own the land or you own the lots and the buildings, and you're collecting rent. So how do you know that that they're going to be sending the income and paying for that?
That's a very good question. I think a lot of people might wonder about that. They're required to. They have to send 90% of the income that they generate to the investors. If they don't do that, then they can lose their tax benefits, and that will hurt them a lot. So they work very hard to not run into that problem. So they do disperse, and it's a very nice, consistent income typically if you are selective and get into the right ones.
So if determining if you want to invest into this real estate investment trust, is there some type of previous track record or ways that you can get information to see how they've performed? Absolutely. And that's one of the key things to look at when you're trying to decide what real estate investment trust do you want to put your money into. Buried in the prospectus, in clear sight that people don't normally read, they are required by law to put in their past offerings. They have to put in what did the investors on their previous REITs, how did they fare? What happened? Did they make money? So if you find somebody that has set up and run 4 of them and every one of them worked out very well for the investors, that's a pretty good indication. If they've only done 2 previous and one of them lost money and one of them gained money, then maybe you should look into it a little bit more carefully. Doesn't necessarily mean they're bad, but it'd be something to look into. So just like probably anything else, the more risk that asset or that investment has, then you're probably going in at a lower cost versus ones that have performed better. It's going to cost more. Is that correct? Not really. Okay. I think the main thing is there basically can be 2 different types. There can be a very opportunistic type that could have a very large gain, but it's a little bit riskier and maybe they won't be able to perform. Versus another one that's very, very cautious and conservative. They might have a lot of different types of buildings. They may have very high occupancy and very high credit quality tenants. You're not going to make a ton, but it's going to be nice and consistent. So there are a lot of different types. Okay. So, Gary, what are the risks attached to investing in real estate investment trusts?
The biggest one, obviously, they could buy buildings that go down in value, and they could lose their tenants and maybe not be able to, to perform. But more than that, if you find somebody that's got a good track record, and right now, especially, I feel that it's a very, very good time to buy, especially if you're doing it this way where you walk in with cash. You're in a much better position to complete the sale, and the people will know that. I'm sure they're going to mention that when they negotiate.
Sure.
And so in any event, you can buy low, and that's the first part of the buy low and sell high.
Okay. Yeah.
The conditions. Another thing that's happened is the banking community has had to pull back. They've been restrained now about how much they can invest in real estate. So what happens is they may be only if you want to buy a commercial building to operate in, you might have been able to get a 90% loan in the past for your commercial property, your warehouse, your office building, whatever. But now you're probably only going to get about a 50% loan. And then you're going to have to get the equivalent of a second mortgage, some other type of financing to get the difference in there.
Okay.
A real estate investment trust, so it makes it very difficult for people to buy. The money is not as free as it used to be. It's not as readily available. So it's tougher if you've got a building and you're anxious to sell it. Somebody comes walking with cash, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. So let's say that you don't want to limit yourself and just buy in the U.S. investment options, but you don't know a lot about investing in foreign countries. Would that be a good idea?
You're describing most of my clients.
Okay.
They're a little nervous about the U.S. and they really don't know very much about what's going on in the rest of the world.
But that's why they're talking to you, right?
Yes. That would be one of the best reasons for doing that. Currently, is about 90% of the land in the world is not in the U.S. A huge percentage of the population is not in the U.S. and a huge percentage of the businesses in the world are not in the U.S. So, yes, a person should consider that, and there are some conditions in other areas that are very exciting. Have very high potential and yet lower risk.
Yeah. So just like anything else, you've got to talk with an expert that understands what you're investing in, that can really coach and help tailor a plan that's going to fit your risk and the money that you have to invest. So, Gary, what about these impact in investing funds? Is this something new? You share a little bit about that?
Yes, that's something that you'll start hearing that term a lot more. It's been around for a little while, but it's starting to really gain. Basically, with impact investing, what is happening is they're going out and before they make a loan to a business, that business has to say that they're going to do something. Before you invest in that company, they're going to create a positive impact in their area. They're going to raise they pay a higher wage than the prevailing wage. That company is the nice kind of company that might provide free housing for their employees, or they built a school for the local kids, or they've done something good. That provides a good positive impact. You feel good about it, and yet you still need to get a decent rate of return.
So, Gary, if you want a decent return on your IRA so that you can someday retire, that's all what we want to do. But you've heard the socially responsible funds do not perform very well. Are these impact funds the same thing?
Yes and no. I've done a little bit of work. I'm not an expert in socially responsible funds. The big challenge with them, it's a type of mutual fund where they restrict themselves to only investing in they'll exclude certain industries. Maybe they don't do any investing if a company has anything to do with guns or alcohol or tobacco or something like that. But there's no standard definition, so another socially responsible fund might only concern themselves with pollution. Sure, all the ammunition you want to make, as long as you don't pollute.
Yes.
So it's very difficult for the investor to figure out which one they really want to invest in. The impact, like I said, what happens there is that we're still, first and foremost, the one that I'm most familiar with, they still want to get a decent return. And there are conditions in certain developing countries where there are no community banks. They don't have the banks we see them all the time. Every corner there's a community bank, and they love to loan money to us. But in these other countries, there may only be one bank, one national bank, and that's it, or two.
Yeah.
And they don't do small loans to small businesses. Now, these are businesses that might have 200 to 500 employees. Mm-hmm. That's bigger than my business.
Yes.
By a long shot. But still, those types of companies are good companies. They're maybe in their growth phase. They've got a lot going for them, but they can't find anybody that will loan them money. So these people put up these funds, and you have to show them that you're going to do something good in your community. Mm-hmm. Then we'll loan you the money. And since they don't have a whole lot of sources, they're very anxious to pay that back and probably get another loan the following year and the following year.
Yeah. Well, Gary, it's an interesting way of looking at investing, and I think for anyone that's in investing, diversity is important. It's also important to know what your investment options are and make sure that you're, again, you've got that expert that can kind of lay things out and put a great plan together for you. So I appreciate you bringing this in studio and sharing race with my listeners.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Tina.
This is your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, signing off for the day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I look forward to talking more money with you next weekend, same time, same place, right here on 1150 AM, KKNW.
Tina Mitchell, MLO 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC. The views expressed by the speakers on the preceding program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, nor are they necessarily endorsed by Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC.